How's everybody doing tonight? I think we're on now.
We're on now. Okay.
Excellent.
So the good news before we get started, Paul remembered to set the microphone to the right thing. So
yeah. Yep, and we had a couple of comments
just
too.
The usual thing.
We're not backwards there. I think you can read that. Oh, you can't. There we go.
Look at that.
Look at that. And so now we are good. I got to reset that every time it turns off, so I'll have to keep it going. All right.
So
welcome.
So to start off, before we lose anybody, I just want to just say, one of the questions that I've heard is, why do Paul and I still attend meetings? It's most selectmen will just walk away and not show up and not cause issues. And to be honest, I would love to be able to do that. I don't know about you, Paul, but
yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, I agree.
But the reason why I think I can say we are still doing it is because no other board has had the total difference in opinion as this board appears to have. And in particular, what I'm very concerned about, and I think Paul is too, is our employees. And you've seen more 10, 15, 20-year employees leave, not because of retirement and not under great circumstances.
Right.
And if I can help just one, and if Paul can help just one, we want to help them. And not only that, but I hope you're seeing some of these meetings, these select board meetings, and you're seeing the lack of leadership.
Right.
And hopefully we can pull some of that in, even if it's through this, where they're watching and they're hating every minute of it.
Right.
But if you're watching, just know that it's not because we want to be critical. It's that we want to make sure that the town doesn't go down a path that could put us in danger.
Right. I mean, I think if you go back to how long we've been on it and the frustration that we had in not being able to get items on the agenda or explanations for the way things were being done at certain phases, and I think we kind of felt that this was a way to get people to hopefully understand what just happened, literally in quotes, what just happened. So we try to dissect the agenda and try to explain what the meetings mean, what each one of the line items kind of was supposed to be about. Because there's a lot of people just have no idea about sometimes very, very boring line items that have to get done, and other times it's things that just get passed over. And I think there are a couple of things on tonight's agenda that we're going to go over that I don't even think people knew happened, quite honestly. And so, I think that we felt that doing this was a way to get people to understand what's going on understanding the frustration that can go with not being heard, even when you're on the board. And I think even the sitting members right now have already voiced that concern on a number of different meetings. So I thought this is, for me, it's a good way to doing it. It's the only way that we can do it. I know I have to say that in one of the legal letters that have been going back and forth about the open meeting law, it was pointed out that we actually had this, and that it was, I don't know, supposed to be used against the person that was putting in the open meeting law violation. But honestly, this is the freedom of speech that we talk about. I mean, we have the right to criticize government. We have the right to point out where it ought to be better. And I'm happy to really be able to do this, to be honest.
And hopefully we have, being on a committee, being on the select board for the 3 years that I was on, there's a lot of stuff that went on, a lot of stuff that I think we did a good job when we were on to explain what we were doing whenever we could. I thought you did a really good job at that as chair, and I don't think I was quite as good, but
nice. I think it was. I think it was important to have leadership. It was important to have people that could engage the community. I think and I learned from people before me. I mean, you learn that, okay, you let them voice their concerns and go to the mic and
but not only the public access, which is lacking, but even just signing signing licenses.
Right.
You know, we would make a point to kind of point out, this is an annual, you know,
Right.
common victual license. It's for all of the restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there was some education in our meetings, I feel.
Right.
And that's since stopped. And I think, you know, being able to digest this and be in this forum versus on the board itself, you know, we can go in and explain, as we have, you know, many different things that go on at a select board meeting, so that hopefully somebody watching this show tonight might run for select board next year.
Right. Agree.
You know, and this will help give them the leg up.
All right. Well, I guess without any further ado, we are going to go and get this one going. I'm keep on, for some reason, there we go. I don't know why that's doing that. But so now we've got, this is episode 12, I think we said. That's what we determined. And we're going to start off with the agenda. And so this is kind of a, fade to black. There we go. I don't know why it does that, but all right. I had it better last week, it seemed. But anyhow, this is the agenda, the robust agenda that happened the other day. In case you couldn't make it, it was the meeting was held at the safety complex, which I thought, honestly, even though the video was the videographer did a great job with that little camcorder, the scene was good. I thought that it actually was a good backdrop. You know what I mean? It looked more professional, I think, than sometimes the town hall with the background and everything. I thought it actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I like the flags, but
I like the flags. It's you know, and I have to say Ryan cleaned up the stage quite a bit a few years back, but it did look a little bit professional for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad venue. It was a little bit tight, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. And,
all right.
And going with the video, you know, it was amazing that the video got up the morning after. It was an important meeting. I'm really glad that the video, the town cable guy, Matt Ciro, was able to get it up within a day.
Right.
You know,
right.
And so just for fun, I went through today and was looking at you know, views, and I think we could be looking at a much more this could be the high watermark for views. As of last time I checked, it was at, I think, 381 views for the meeting that happened yesterday, which shows that people care about our police department,
right,
about what's going on with public safety. You know, but it's been interesting that since last year, since August of 21, the select board meetings have been averaging about 60 to 80 views. Mm-hmm. You know, with high ones, the one where the administrative assistant spoke, that was up to about 260. That's pretty impressive.
You got a high Nielsen rating.
Yeah. You know, right now the high watermark is still June 28th of 21, which is when Marty and Pat Leeming came on with Suzanne. That was where they started off by saying they didn't want to appoint any of the police officers, then backed off and only didn't reappoint Officer Olsta. So, and for a couple of weeks there, it was well over 200, and then it shrank back down. But, you know, and before that one, when we were on the board, maybe it's just because we were boring. Yeah. We only get about an average of like 15 or 30.
Oh,
so
kind of disappointed.
Yeah, but it shows that a lot of people are paying attention now, which is always good.
Yep, and I like to think that we directed people there to watch it too, because it generated conversation. I mean, it generated an awareness or need, like to say, did I just hear what I thought I heard? And go home and you read it, and you read the minutes, and then you watch the video, and you try to make heads or tails out of it. So, for sure, no, I think it's definitely sparked some interest, and it's very interesting that the meeting that just happened last night has so many views.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Oh yeah.
All right, so here's the agenda, and the first thing you want to start with that?
Yes. Right. So the first item on the agenda was the police department, and here again, hearing stuff out there, and actually, if we could start with the video clip so we didn't get a chance to get all these things set up before.
And that was my fault because I got pulled away a little bit, but here we go. So anyways, what I was going to do is I'll start that.
Were to sit here and say, gee, we think that's a great idea. We don't have the authority to disband the police department or anything else. This would have to go to a town meeting. If the board even felt that that was something that we wanted to sponsor and send there. This is the first time we've seen the presentation, so we've seen it the same as you at the same time. Okay, to sit and suggest that we are doing this to try to incorporate the police into the sheriffs or with the state police or whatever, okay, not true. Just like all of you, we came here to see the presentation, to see what they had to say. Now we've heard it, okay? No decisions at this point. There's no need to be sitting.
All right.
So this might be one of the first times that Mr. Kelly and I have agreed on anything, and it's, one, they do not have the authority to make any changes to the police department, and two, there are no plans to do so. That was just the first meeting. Hopefully, with the many people that were there, for those that weren't there, I thought it was amazing how many police officers, state troopers,
right,
local guys from other towns, at the end, I went up and asked how many firearms do you think were in that room?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah, it was amazing. It got well publicized in the police world.
Definitely.
And people are scared, and but as far as the town goes, there are no plans at this point to move that, and if they were to make any decisions toward that end, it would have to go to a town meeting vote.
Right. That's our understanding anyways. And this, I think, helps to kind of maybe reiterate that I'm going to play this really quickly. Hopefully with some...
And you're going to get... but you're going to get...
Sorry.
But leave with this. You will get more for the town, never less. If you engage with us, I can assure you that.
Okay, Sheriff, I'm going to take it from here.
Sure.
It should be noted.
Let me go back. I just want to go there's one more part that I missed on this one. Shoot. And I thought it was right there.
And you're going to get work, and they don't get retired.
People are worried about in this little town.
All right.
When I call and I need a policeman.
Let me go back. I'll have to find that one. There was a clip where he said, and I got to find out exactly where it was because I have it in all my notes here. And I'm discombobulated. But the select board does what's best for this town, and it got a little bit of a kind of a rise.
5510.
5510. All right, I'll find it anyways.
But that clip that you just did, that's another really important one. So we're going to talk about how crazy this was, but the takeaway that I got from it was, we have a great police department. We also have great backup from the state police. Right. Those two things have always been in place for the past 20, at least 20 years.
Agree.
What you heard Coachy just say was that, moving forward with them, however we move forward with them, if we move forward with them, he also at one point said, he's asking, but if it's a no, he's going to just do it anyway. Well,
he didn't. It won't be. He said he could do a lot more.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be taking over the police department.
Right.
It would just be coming in here and patrolling more.
Right.
And there's never. I don't see a problem with, more police officers being present.
Right.
Ever. If we don't have to pay for a third unit, and because we know that between the state police and the sheriff's department, we're going to be covered.
Right.
That's a nice value add. With no cost.
So I'll put the clip on real quick because this is the part that just makes you kind of go home and sleep warmly at night.
Force down anybody's throat. That I can promise you. The only thing that you shouldn't walk out of here feeling is at the end of the day, your select board is going to do what's best for you, and you're going to get. But you're going to get. But leave with this.
All right. All right. Let me get that out there. So I thought that was interesting. Let me kind of go back to. Go ahead.
That laughter, I have to say, I was disappointed when I heard that in the morning because it only picked up the people that were close to the camera.
Microphone.
That room erupted in laughter.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So the whole idea. So I think having the sheriff come in was not a bad idea. I think there's been a lot of controversy as far as the police chief and how to fill that position, and for years we've talked about the state police can do all this, they can do all of our policing, and then you get conflicting reports back and forth. What I found is that when you look at the post-C reform bill that passed in this state before, it created a little bit of an issue, and that issue is this: police on all the departments need more training mandated by the state, not funded necessarily by the state, but mandated by the state in all aspects. So all the police are going to need to be diversity trained and de-escalation training, etc. That's great. Now they've got all these corrections officers and deputies of the sheriff's departments, and not just in Hampden County. This is happening all across the state. You've got all of them going to be trained, and now they can be a full-time police officer or part-time police officer anywhere. And so they may find a job elsewhere. So they need to make sure that they don't train them and lose them, and so that they have this batch of people that they want to find another role for. And the reality is that reform bill mandated that these police officers get trained for these rural communities where we have police officers that work 4 hours a week, 4 hours every other week. I can't make it that time. I'll throw a few hours at the flea market here and there, or for patrolling I can do this, I can do that. And they work for 3 or 4 different towns for less than 6 hours each. How are they going to get trained? What small towns are going to pay for that person to be trained if they're spending 6 hours in another town, 4 hours in another town, and 3 hours in your town? So there is a lot, I think, that could have been gained had this select board backed up, talked with the police department, called in a representative that could maybe speak for the state police, call in a representative of the sheriff's department, sat on a table, not part of the public discussion, and just said, what's going to happen with all these police forces? What's going to happen with all these rural towns? And nobody thought about them, so we need to have a plan. And if they had done that beforehand, then when it came, the sheriff came in here and he was just trying to sell a product. There's no doubt. And you could get top of the line where you get patrol 24/7, or you could take this, or you could take plan B, or you could take plan C, and it could be less or more depending on what you needed, but we're always here for you. So it was like, okay, I get it. But I think they missed an opportunity to fix a problem and instead just stirred up a whole problem, if you ask me.
Oh yeah. This, once again, a couple episodes ago we had the title was Lack of Leadership. This again just showed a lack of leadership. And to have just put out there on an agenda that everybody is watching for now, Hampden County Sheriff's Office to present partnership opportunities to enhance law enforcement efforts in Brimfield, and to have that coupled with a newspaper article that came out, I believe that same day, that Thursday afternoon, that one of the select board members was quoted as saying, we're going to do a complete takeover, or we're going to, the sheriff's department is going to be a complete takeover. It makes no sense to have that happen, and to not have some sort of PR out there letting everyone know this isn't a takeover. You know, this is merely a discussion. You know, and actually reading the agenda item again, it doesn't seem that bad to present a partnership opportunities to enhance law enforcement efforts.
Right.
You know, and I agree with the Post C concerns, but the other thing that was missing and that I'm very concerned about, even talking more to the sheriff about, is that our police department, and I think everybody knows that I hold them in very high regard. Our police department is made up of some of the best, you know, man for man. If you go down our guys versus, you know, Sturbridge's guys, or you know, and I don't know anyone from Sturbridge, so I can't say it. But I would be willing to hold any of our guys up, because, you know, Chief Kuss, Lieutenant Beaudry have done an amazing job at attracting primarily retired officers from other agencies.
Right.
You know, those retired officers either can't work or don't want to work a full-time job. And if there was a sheriff, you know, absorption going on, you know, we would lose some guys, because I don't think the sheriff has any desire, and I guess this would be a question for him, would be,
Right.
would you consider taking part-time guys? You know, because we don't
Right.
want to lose hours.
Right. I mean, it sounded like he wanted to kind of assimilate and then offer them the, you know, the state,
The benefits
the union,
and
the
everything
benefits,
else.
the health insurance, the training, and
these
all
guys
that,
have.
Which, right. So,
They're-
yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think the state police were just trying to point out the fact that the locals have it, and if they need the expertise, they can just call in state police for the expertise. And that's kind of how it's been done for the last so many years. The reality, I think what I came away with here is that there are lines in the sand here. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You know, departments, you know, don't mesh as maybe as nice as one would hope they would, or if they've ever been asked to do so. That's the thing.
And I think it was not a very good first presentation by the sheriff. You know, I think he came in strong, and he probably should have prefaced this with the state police before he came in.
Well, that's what I mean. I think he was set up. Maybe not intentionally set up, but I think it was destined to be a tough sell to a tough room, and I don't think it needed to be. I think it needed to be vetted out long before this particular meeting. I think that was a huge mistake. None of this should have been a surprise to anybody. I mean, and the police that were there, none of them should have had to ask some of the questions that they asked. That should have all been dealt with at the table beforehand.
And I gotta say, you know, sitting in that room, you know, seeing everybody that was there, I always knew we had a lot of state troopers in Brimfield. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of state troopers.
We do.
And you know, which has worked in our favor. We had I know of a case this winter, I believe, where you know, something happened. They called in for some help, and we had 1 or 2 dogs on site within a matter of hours. We had the air wing, you know, a helicopter in here, and multiple men. You know, all came in off duty and on duty,
right?
You know, from the state, plus on and off duty Brimfield, and maybe some other local, you know, Wales or Holland. You know, and it was a great response, and we're very fortunate to have that here in town. You know.
Nope, totally agree.
So.
All right, let's see next.
So. I would like to...
You want to throw a clip up there?
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can find it while you keep talking.
And this is... So this just goes into, once again, with just the timing for this whole thing. And this is another local officer that was in here, and he was talking about you know, just the timing of it.
All right.
So you ready to throw it up?
I think I am. I'm going to put it up there, and I'm going to hit.
Try and find a chief. And bring the sheriff in, talk about
Oh, but actually the next part of that was also really, really good too. This local guy grew up in town, basically saying he doesn't want to be in here because he wouldn't be chief because of the political situation, but it was really bad timing because this happened, and all the police know about it. Some applicants could have pulled out or could still pull out,
right,
because they don't, why would you want to be a chief, leave a good job to be a chief to only have this thing take place in a year, 2 years, 6 months, and they didn't dispel that, except, it would have to go to town meeting.
Right. Yeah, they didn't assuage anybody's fears or concerns or really anything. In fact, if you watch the video, they absolutely backpedaled. There was one point where they literally said the select board didn't invite the Hampden County Sheriff into this meeting, and then they pointed out one particular member did, and it was his item to throw on the agenda. Well, first off, it's unheard of to get an agenda item on so quickly. And we never had it. And so for one of them to be able to just say, oh, I want to put this on, and it went on.
When we never had it in the last year of our being select board members.
Sorry, qualified, absolutely correct. So when it got put on, and then everybody, including the chair and the vice chair, seemed to distance themselves, oh, this wasn't our idea, to bring this in. Why didn't they just have a private meeting to kind of figure out what it was going to be about? That was kind of a mistake, I think. And they threw one of the members a little bit under the bus, saying it was all his, and maybe it was all his, I don't know, but they still could have managed that particular meeting and the attendees a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, and I thought that, I don't know if you want to do this, but the lieutenant actually came up and talked about that as well, and just said, how the police department was in fear of what might happen. I don't know if you want to play that or not.
Yeah, I can put that up real quick. Let's see. Where do I have my safety meeting and fade and action and play the clip?
However, I can't hold my tongue simply because of the people that work here and the people in the back of the room. That's not fair. What's not fair is that we're in fear that we may or may not have a job. That's right. That's not right. 100%. In 10 days, just like for the last 2 weeks, I've been fielding calls as the board has, because we don't.
All right.
Sheriff is supposed to be in here and talk.
All right, so I think that was enough.
Yeah. So, he's been fielding calls. The select board's been taking calls for 2 weeks leading up to this. Why didn't anybody put anything out there, say something that kind of said, this isn't a done deal, this is merely, once again, if a select board member wanted to do something this, I'm gonna say crazy. I can't think of a better word. This revolutionary. How's that?
Yep. All right.
It shouldn't be on a select board agenda, which has in the past, especially with these guys, stuff either gets kicked down the curb or voted on immediately.
Right.
Something this revolutionary, why wouldn't you just say, let's have a public information hearing.
Right.
Let's have this outside of a select board meeting.
Right.
Select board member, Soto, why don't you set up a time, a date, a place to have this session to see, to vet it out and not have it be in a meeting.
Right. Yeah.
They don't like to have discussions at these meetings because, it's a business meeting.
Right.
Well, this was a public information session. That's what the chairperson said.
It was a chip. It was definitely a selling point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it should never have got on an agenda.
Right.
And if it did, there should have been a lot of caveats either here or in other places saying, this isn't imminent, this isn't going to happen. Don't, let's dispel all of these fears.
Don't fret.
And all the innuendo now, or rumors.
Right. True. All right. So maybe we could do this whole thing on just this one particular presentation, but I don't think we need to. I think we'll move on a little bit, maybe to the next agenda item. Let me see if I can find it. Okay.
And we did just get a good comment saying a public meeting would have allowed the public to ask anything they wanted for however long they wanted to. Absolutely.
Right. Oh yeah, and actually a really good public
Even
meeting.
Paul and I?
Maybe not us. A good public meeting would, that one question might spur on a whole nother avenue of questions that other people may not have even thought about, but that are really critical for, again, to get to the point, because it's good to have that combined intellect of people asking questions that you might not have even thought about. And so even some of the comments last night made by the state troopers, I found informative. I didn't know some of the things that they were saying, about, what jurisdictions used to be, drawn in the sand, and now they're not, because now there's a statutory,
right.
So it was very interesting, I think, and I would really encourage you to watch the video and try to listen really hard to the comments in the back, at least some of them. Yeah. Not all of them necessarily, but some of them. Yeah,
it was kind of interesting to hear. I think he said he had 4 accredited police officers now, 4 full academy.
Yeah, what they're doing is they've got this bridge, right. And so that's online, from what I understand. And then what they're doing is primarily online, and then they've got live in-person training. And he was talking about how they were doing it in Holyoke, where they do. I don't know what it was, 25% for a little bit, and then 50%, and then 75%, and then 100%, or whatever, on basically on the job training. So that kind of works well, I think, for the training part of things.
Yeah. But he said that at the end of the 3-year bridge time, he plans on having 240 accredited police officers.
Right.
So that is a lot of officers.
They have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so there is a plan.
Yeah.
There is a plan, and I think someone is talking about said plan based on the reform bill with rural communities. And Hampden County has a lot of rural communities.
Yeah.
And I think this is a test case. I mean, this hasn't been done before as far as coming in. This would be the first. Yeah. If they came in and actually took over the policing in total, it would be a novel idea, and it would be the first time. And I don't know if anybody wants to be the first time, but
right.
But maybe.
Yeah, and again, like we started with, I've got to take the chair at his word when he says that they couldn't do it, and I agree with him that the board cannot do this by themselves. It would have to go to town meeting. Right. And as long as everybody who cares about the police department, which I think is a good majority of town,
right,
it will not happen.
Right.
Again, going back to the beginning of the thing, one of the fears that I have is the way that they have treated our current police department, our chief, different officers. We may not get a chance to, make sure that our I agree. All of our officers love working town. Everyone that I talk to, they're not here for the money. They're not here for the glory. They're not here for anything. They love the chief. They love the townspeople. Right. They love the environment. And that environment is changing. Right. The chief is changing. Hopefully, they'll make a very good decision on the next chief. But if not, we could be in a location or a spot where, we need some backup, because we won't have the 14 guys that work, 4 hours a week each, each one of them.
Right. That was a question too I had. The search committee for the chief, they should have all been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that would have been important to give a presence, and that they were on the ball from the get-go. But granted,
Yeah, I only saw one that I knew that. And the other part of that was at the end of the local police officer who spoke, saying that it was really bad timing. Mm-hmm. He said that he would be willing to sit on a committee, to help find the chief.
Okay. Yeah.
And I hope the select board heard that and takes him up on that, because he would be another good guy. He's been around our guys.
Right. He's been a retired chief, I think. Right?
He is a retired chief. He's now currently a police officer at a university.
Yep. Excellent. All right, so let's look at the agenda. The next, because we can come back to that as things happen. What's that?
We could be here as well.
Yeah. Oh, I know. The Boy Scout.
Yeah, we don't have to worry.
Yeah.
about
Okay. Let's skip down. We don't want to skip two.
Yeah. Although I thought it was funny that they are requesting permission to place a sandwich board on the town common. Well, we now have an information board that was never discussed on the town common. It looks nice, but it was never discussed being placed where it was.
Right.
And that's, that right next to the path project that, I helped design. Never ever a discussion of a sign there. It looks good. That could be a location for this. Or there's that, big 4x8 sign.
I think that's what they're going to use. I think that's what they were using. I think they were going to use that sandwich board. I think
they're saying place a sandwich board. So it's not use.
Maybe another one?
It could be another one. We could start having signs on the common everywhere.
Wow. I mean, that's
that big 4x8 sandwich board is not being used right now. I would suggest using that instead.
I guess I assume that that's what it would be used for. But I assume that that's what, well, we'll see. I have no idea.
Although, I mean, that 4x8 temporary sign, if it becomes permanent, which it's now been up for a year,
right?
There should probably be some discussion with the building inspector to make sure that it's a sign that's not going to blow away.
Right.
Impact Route 20.
Right. No, I remember it was supposed to be just a thermometer sign for a very temporary period purpose, but I think they did say, they wanted to leave it, and I saw Historic actually was putting it for, not for rent, but it was available for town. Non-profit related issues, so. All right, next, we
can skip the
forensic audit. Yeah, I think so too. And not because it doesn't have anything of import. There was just nothing to come of it right now. They're looking at trying to find out how much it will cost to look at an IT audit. So we'll find out about that in a little bit, I guess, next time. Yeah. It'll be on the agenda again, I guarantee it. The senior center.
We are talking about the ratchet strapped signboard.
Yes. That is, the sandwich board. All right, so now we've got the bid award. Which one is that?
No, the rental rate increase.
Oh, the rental rate for the senior center. That went over really quickly. I'm not even sure people heard that, but I went back and listened to it again, and it sounded like it was a $300 per month increase.
Yes.
But there was nothing. See, one of the bad things I think about having meetings like this without teams, and even when we had teams, when I did it, when we were like chair, if there was something that I was talking about, I tried to post it so that people could see it if they were on Teams. I mean, you can't see it in live, unfortunately, because we didn't have an overhead or anything like that. But we were able to kind of get it out there so people could see it, they could screenshot it, they could whatever.
Yeah, but even before Teams, we did put it up on we did have a screen. I brought my projector.
Depending on what it was, depending on the importance of people seeing it, and I guess that's a cop-out, but a lot of things that we thought would make more sense for people to see the numbers and whatnot, you just do that. Now, basically what the contract had with the senior center is that the rental contract required a 3-month notification of a rent increase, which is why they did it now, and in 3 months from now there'll be a new contract written up, and I'm assuming looked at on both sides, negotiated, tried to figure out if that works out right, just to make sure it looks good, but yeah, I'm sure it will just go. It'll be fine. What? You have something to say? Go ahead.
I got a text from someone saying, tell you JP for life.
What? Oh, no. Shut up. All right. You guys. All right. Can you hit that, reverse that thing up there?
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. All right. That way I don't have people yelling that we're backwards on the other views. So here we are.
Okay.
All right, next item.
Next item is the future of the building committee.
Oh, this is another. I mean, this could take another show, unfortunately. So,
Yeah. So
well, wait a minute. It actually won't take another show because we have updated information.
yeah. So, well, there was lack of leadership once again. You know, we had a meeting back in, I think that was the September meeting, where they wanted to disband the building committee, and it was going to be disbanded November 1st.
Right.
And now, you know, and they voted on it, and it was approved unanimously that it was going to be disbanded. The next night was a building committee meeting
Right.
where George went to that and basically backpedaled and said that, you know, yeah, a lot of the stuff that he said last night, and he didn't say this, but other people said it wasn't true. It wasn't, you know, there's a lot of misinformation given, and he agreed with that.
Right.
And wanted to work together and, you know, come up with some better solutions. And you know, it was a very nice meeting. George was very, very willing to play in the sandbox with everybody. And everything was good. November 1st rolled around. Didn't hear a word about it. At this last meeting, they basically said that the existing committee, none of the existing committee applied to get on the new committee.
Right. None of them wrote a letter requesting to be reappointed or whatever to this new building committee that was coming up. Now I'm going to go back to that other live meeting that they had when everybody at that meeting said they wanted to stay on, and they said it to the person who was asking, right? So did they feel obligated to write a letter? Probably they would have thought that was one, videotaped. It was two, everybody saw it as a witness. It was in the minutes that they all said we'd like to stay on, and they said it to the person who was requesting.
Right.
They tell them that they wanted to stay on. So I think they thought they kind of fulfilled that need. But anyhow.
And they went forward and were saying if you want to add more people, you can.
Right. Because they had openings. I mean, they were always, if you wanted to join, they were always inviting, I think, to have more people come on.
Yeah. So, and they were talking about more people and some specific people, and you know, everything was good.
Right.
So then this afternoon they got an email that I then received through some friends, through a friend, and it was basically the record of the vote, which and now it's not going to open up for me.
Of course.
Yeah. Here it is. Blah blah blah. So the current building committee members to adopt the following guidelines, regulations with a 3-year term limit. They will draft a mission statement, which will be reviewed by the board. Quarterly reports will be presented in person to the select board at their meeting. And someone from the building committee must maintain the building committee page on the town website.
Right.
All committee members must complete open law training and the conflict of interest training, and should prioritize the solution to the town hall and the library. Seconded by Alan Bercovici, vote unanimous. So the vote that they took yesterday, or Monday, was the current building committee members to adopt the following guidelines.
Right.
Everybody stays, just like they said at the last building committee meeting.
Right.
Then...
Oh, here it comes. Shoe's gonna drop.
They got word today that the same man who made this motion last night, was decided that the motion that was made back in September was the
binding
motion, which was to disband and not have anybody from the previous, so disband the committee as of November 1st. So the hour-long discussion, or however long it was, that took place last night to try to save these guys,
The emotional discussion,
very emotional,
very emotional.
was all for naught because they were already disbanded. And,
Nobody knew it
Nobody knew.
until today. So they sent out a letter to all of the members? Is that how, or who got that letter? Do you know?
I believe it was every member of the building committee plus the select board.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
And it didn't come from the select board. It came from a member of the select board, right?
Yes.
So a member of the select board sent it to the select board just to tell them what happened, and to all the other members.
I believe so.
Something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I didn't get that email, but I got some calls about it.
Okay.
And in case any of the select board is watching, the people that I did hear it from were not the department heads. They were actually volunteer members.
Right.
So don't start getting mad at the department heads.
Right. So that ought to stir up a little bit of emotion in town, to be honest.
Yeah. So what they just did, and I've said this many times, the building committee, like you said, was very open, very welcoming,
Right.
very inclusive. Inclusive? Is that?
Yep, inclusive,
Yeah, okay.
yep.
That's what you want to be.
Yep.
Yeah. We had, so, and I don't have the clip on this, but at one point they were talking about conflict of interest, and somebody said, that's not a conflict of interest
Right.
to have a department head on the committee. And the chairman of the board of selectmen, or the select board, responded, it's not a legal conflict, but it's a conflict in the spirit of the conflict of interest laws.
Right.
Well,
What does that mean? I mean, and what I was taken aback by is that the member of the board who was managing this discussion, in his opinion, the department head shouldn't be on it. Well, I have been on many committees with department heads that were working in very similar type circumstances. And my experience is that they should be on. So just because, even the motion that was put forth, and I know it's null and void now because of everything, but even the motion was like, okay, we want this mission statement and we want this to be their first agenda items when they come on. Well, first you put a committee together and then you ask them to figure out, here's all the data, figure out what we need to do as a committee for the town, what's our next priority. That's what they're supposed to do. Not because X member wants a certain agenda to be addressed.
right.
This is what you're going to talk about. This is your mission statement. It's not the building. It's the what was the word? It's not the goal. The building is not the goal. It's how you get there. It's by community and a committee, and you're going to have subcommittees. You're going to have a committee of 3, and it's going to have a subcommittee of 2, which is a quorum, which you can't have. I didn't get any of it, and it was very upsetting that one person is going to try to dictate how this committee is going to run, what they're going to talk about, what they're going to emphasize, and how they're going to roll. I mean, it just doesn't make, to me,
Right.
That's not the essence of a committee,
And
not a free committee.
And like some people said, the term limits. Well, actually,
Right.
select person Soto mentioned, we shouldn't set term limits because it's so hard to find volunteers.
Right.
And term limits at the federal level, you can definitely say yes or no on. That's beyond. But for this, this is a building committee that's been in place for at least 7 years.
Right.
And, there are members on the building committee who have been on building committees for Brimfield, for the town, for 17 or 20 years.
Right.
Before Mr. Miller was on this committee, he was on the Tantascwa High School building committee, which lasted 24 years.
Right.
Or something like that. So, and it's when the building committee was established at town meeting, it was to be in existence until the all of the buildings had been addressed.
Right.
So we don't need a mission statement. That is the mission statement.
Right. That was certainly the way they all came on board, and that's certainly the way they were thinking about it the other day when Mr. Adams was at that meeting. They were all of the same mindset that that's exactly why they were still there, and that's exactly why they wanted to remain there. 100%.
Right.
That was their idea, for sure.
So someone asked which meeting of the select board was that where they disbanded the building committee. I believe it was September 12th, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
It's the day before, the building committee, which is also on the on-demand.
I could go look, but then I would look like a buffoon and be doing too many things at one time, which I already am. But
we can only have one buffoon, and
that's right.
That's already me.
That's already. Oh, okay, good. I'll accept that nomination. All right. Well, the other thing too is, and this is a quote, that the new members of the new building committee are going to get their marching orders, because remember that they respond to the select board, or they report to the select board, and they're going to get marching orders, their roles, and their mission statement kind of hand delivered to them. So again, I don't get it. I think the whole idea is that they should have a little bit of freedom to think and solve, and even though they need some direction, I think what could have happened with all this is before, when we had liaisons that went to the different departments and committees, and then from the select board, we had responsibilities with certain committees or boards. And you went, and if something was going on with them, we reported back and said, hey, planning and ZBA are talking about this, or Board of Health and the health agent are talking about this, or FinCom and for you, police department was talking about this. Or like when we talked about IT, whoever's available brought that to the attention of everybody at a meeting. It wasn't a big deal. You knew what they were talking about. We attended building committee meetings, so you knew what they were talking about.
Right.
If you had a question, say, well, where's that money going, or whatever. It was clear if you just went to it. This could have been stopped by just doing it, by liaisons last year. It never did come to fruition last year.
Right. And and one of the reasons was because you get too close with the different departments. Well, as a select person, why wouldn't you want to be close with?
We're in a town of a little over 3,000 people. I mean, it's a rural community. You should be close to the people that work in town. You ought to be able to be. I don't get it.
You want communication strings, and the liaison was one way to do it.
Right.
It just as easily worked with, and I think we had it before anyway, because, you would be able to go talk to the police chief, the fire chief, the librarian, whoever you wanted to talk to, and you were nice, friendly, open, willing to listen.
Yeah, sometimes.
And that happened. So, but this adversarial tone that this board takes with our employees, which you can debate if you want, but you look at the track record of how they're treating the police chief. You look at how they treated previous police officers. You look at all these things that they've done that have just been in the public, in your face, wrong.
Right.
And I would, if I were a town employee, I wouldn't trust telling them any problems that I might be having, any issues, because that.
No, you want to stay under the fire.
Yeah.
All right. What's our next agenda item, sir?
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at your. Let's see. Oh boy, the legal services.
Oh, good one. This is a good one. So, so legal services, that I thought was interesting, because even some of the members of the sitting board didn't know what that was really pertaining to. So I thought that was really interesting. But just so people understand what it was about, the the select board meeting of the 24th of, let's see, I'm sorry, let me get it back up on here. There's, yes, right there. I don't want to say, I was going to say interviewed, right? The town interviewed, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that they invited 4 law firms to come to the hall and basically say who they were and what they did.
Wait a second.
Wait.
So it was kind of like a public information session, which is kind of what happened with the sheriff's office.
It was kind of like a public information session, only it was, right.
And then the next time they voted on it.
But you couldn't even ask questions at this one. So
that's true.
So when you look at who was there were, I don't know if anybody remembers, but there were 4 law firms. This is Mr. Kopelman, I think, here on that one. And then there was...
Who's that handsome guy in the back there?
That's me. This
I don't see it.
And I don't have all the names, but there's a second one. He was a private individual, and this was another one this was the one that was Cuss and Ryan.
Right.
They were representing. They were from the Chicopee mayor and the councilman from Springfield, I believe.
Yeah.
And I may be wrong, but. And then there was Doherty, I think. So these were all 4 of them. All right, and what they did was let them kind of give a spiel about what they could offer the town, and what they could offer the town. Legal services. I can be on the phone. We can do this, that, and the other thing. We've done municipalities. We have this many, whatever. I mean, they gave a selling speech. They received no questions about what experiences they had, how many small towns they represented. I mean, it may have come out in some of their initial introductions, but they didn't give them the benefit of the courtesy of asking a question. And these, come to find out, I thought this was going to be, all right, here's your introduction. Do you like any of them? Do you invite them back? The way you do a search for something as important as this is you do a search, you throw a net, you find out, you get a few, you say you like this one and this one, have them come back in for a second interview. That's what you do. And then you get to the nitty gritty, you ask them a lot of hard questions, then you come back and you say, all right, we're going to make a choice of what we're going to do. There was absolutely no discussion afterwards that we heard anyways. And they ended up on this agenda 2 nights ago having a line item that said legal services. It wasn't, we're changing out the town's legal representation. It was legal services. It was a mumble. It was a murmur. Next thing you know, there was a second, and people were like, well, what just, even the board members were like, what are we doing here? What are we voting on? And then they explained it.
And actually the original motion came out saying, I make a motion to get Kopelman and Page as the as town council, and the chair and vice chair had to very quickly say, no, just Kopelman.
Right, just Kopelman, yeah. For those
Kopelman and Page.
Right, for those who don't know, Kopelman and Page is who we have now. They represent...
Who we had on Sunday.
I'm sorry, who we had 15 minutes before this meeting. They represent, 144 towns and the municipalities in this state. They were actually, it was a partnership that was actually started by Mr. Kopelman, and then he left, but the name stayed, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, they changed it to KP Law.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, Kopelman Page. So, but anyhow, this is the gentleman who started all that right here, and so he is the town's new lawyer.
Yeah, and they kept saying that, he knew the town. Well, he knew, and he said that he worked for the town. Jonathan Silverstein, who was the representative for us from KP,
right,
had been the town liaison for at least 18 years. So, and before that, I believe it was someone else even.
Right.
And then before that was when Mr. Kopelman himself, worked with the town.
Right. Yeah.
So it's been
a while.
a generation
Been
or two
bit,
since.
a little bit of a while.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a very interesting agenda item.
Yeah, and the sad part with that, and again, this board likes to talk about, communication, transparency, openness.
Yep.
Well, they just made a change to, the town council, and my understanding is there was very little, if any, communication with the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, about this.
Right.
I don't think they got much input to say what they would like to see, which again, if you're going to actually interview a law firm, you want to know, can you do, conservation stuff?
Right.
Are you good with wetland laws? Are you
Right.
good with, solar?
Right.
You ask them questions
Right.
pertaining that have happened in the recent past.
Right.
And we had some big solar issues.
I mean, maybe you give
you
planning
didn't agree with the solar.
I didn't. So but maybe you give planning, or even the building inspector, the opportunity to talk to the lawyers that might be part of the engineering process. Part of the. You just give people a chance because the previous law firm had individuals of certain expertise, and I think one of the interesting points of the 4 that were interviewed is that there's a firm behind them. I don't know how many. Nobody asked them. Do you have experts in X, Y, and Z in a municipality? Do you have conservation? Do you have what about brown land?
You have to stop hitting the table.
I know. I noticed it actually vibrating a little bit because I'm getting so excited. No, but like, what about these contaminated lands, and what about title law? I mean, do you have a division for title insurance and title law about land use attorney? So I didn't hear any of it, but anyhow, we have a new lawyer. There's a new lawyer in town.
There's a new lawyer in town. Okay.
All right, I'll quit hitting the table. Go ahead.
So
what's next, sir?
So my secret is that we're in this nice pool house that wasn't really built for winter.
No.
So it's kind of cold, but we've got a heater underneath the table.
Yes,
so
my hands are freezing.
I keep my hands underneath the table where the heater is.
Yeah, it's absolutely freezing. No, I get it.
Paul's just not that quick.
No, I am, but I'm working up here. I got. All right, go ahead. What's next?
Okay, so legal services, some liquor licenses, developing performance review. I guess they didn't even talk about that. They skipped that one.
Yeah, they were trying to adjourn pretty quickly, right around there, I think.
Yeah, and I think they did.
Yeah,
right?
They jumped down to the invoice for
Right.
the architectural design invoice for the senior center study, and just so people understand what that was, because they didn't explain it very well. They didn't explain it to each other because even the members on the board didn't understand what it was. This is money that was already gotten through a grant, and the job was done, and so the people that did the job are invoicing the town, and the town is pushing that money from the grant line item to the people who did the job.
Right.
Is just semantics. It is just bookkeeping.
Yeah. But actually, I do want to kind of go back to some of this because it is.
Oh boy. Which one?
So this goes back to when we were deciding when we were going to have our meetings, and this is kind of a good one to have because they didn't. These will hopefully be on future meetings. So one thought early on was we should have it on Thursday night because the agenda would come out so we could talk about the agenda.
Right.
But then it was too far away from the Monday meeting, and we might lose some of our energy, which I know everybody likes to see us
some of our energy.
pounding our fists. And so, but looking at this stuff, I just got a comment saying it's not as good a show without the cute firefighter.
Oh, that's nice. Well,
Yeah.
How about I'll put up the board for a little bit, 'cause that will
Yeah,
that'll make people
there you go.
feel more comfortable.
They're cuter than that firefighter.
Yeah.
But so anyway, developing performance review protocols, I think that's a great idea. That's something that I wish we did. I don't think it's really feasible to do until they set up, get the job descriptions, get, kind of some more HR type stuff set up. But I'm glad to see that being discussed.
Maybe talk with the lawyer firm that we have before we go in and doing something like that, because this is going to be something that needs to be, vetted out for sure.
Yeah. The historical committee wants to oversee and coordinate the decorating the common for upcoming holidays. Now that has some merit. That's good. I've got a slight concern with if the historical committee was also involved in that getting that crash bar on the on the historic door.
Yeah.
Maybe we should look.
Yeah, so I guess I have a question for that, because the use of the commons is always under the purview of the select board. Now, if the select board says, okay, is the use still going to go through the select board, but the decorations are going to go through a decorating committee of the historic commission? I mean, historical. I think somebody should oversee it and maybe control things a little bit, but are they controlling who gets the common? Are they controlling what decorations get to go up on the common, and to what extent?
Right.
Does it have to be contemporary to the, where are they going to go with that? And so it would be nice to see maybe a further description of kind of what they're trying to do, because I think somebody has to control it.
Yeah.
But, so if I say, okay, I want to use the common, I want to put, I don't know, whatever, some decorations on it for St. Patrick's Day, say. Do I go to the select board to get permission to use it, and then do I have to go to historic to have my decorations vetted through and have them approved? I'm not sure. So I don't know.
The select board that included Doyle and McCarthy would never let St. Patrick's Day decorations up. No,
it wouldn't be a day. It'd turn into a weekend. There you go. That'd be fine.
That's right.
All right.
Scheduling for meetings app. I'm not really sure what that means.
Scheduling for meetings app. So it sounds like an app, which is interesting that we can't get one. There are 28 laptops floating around this town, and we can't get our select board to each have one so that they could participate in remote meetings and show their faces. And they think they can use an app. I mean, some of them, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to use an app for. Going to a meeting, you got to be very careful with an app, because it must be a municipal app. It must be something that you can, that's already been like open meeting law, vetted through, and so you can't do something egregious, that kind of thing. But I don't know.
I was kind of thinking it was like scheduling because of the shortage of conference rooms, especially through the winter.
Oh, for rooms. Oh, that's a good idea. I see what you're saying. Who would run that?
I don't know.
Like everybody see the same one, just say, oh, this room's open. I'll go to the conference room at the annex because it's open, and just click the button.
There isn't a conference room at the annex.
Yes, well, there is. But there isn't anymore, but there used to be. All right.
I guess they do allow people to use it.
Yeah, which doesn't make sense, as it's not as secure as... anyways, but so you can say, okay, the safety complex is open, or the library at the school, or the cafeteria at the school is open, and depending on the size, you could book it. Maybe you could book it like a hotel room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that would make sense.
But that's something that I wanted to get going in Outlook when I was global access coordinator or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I started to create. Because in Outlook, you can create rooms, and with different areas at different companies I worked for, we had to schedule all of our conferences, all of our meetings in a conference room, and we had to pick and see who was, which were free that day,
right?
And you can do that. The issue was getting everybody to log in to
and actually use it.
Yeah.
And that would probably be the same issue. And honestly, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it might, especially now because everything is in limbo, because they're not going to have any select board meetings at the hall anymore for the winter for saving money. And so it sounds like they're going to be at the school because I thought they voted that it would be at the school. You know, that's what they said at that meeting. So I'm assuming it's going to be at the school, but I don't know if it's going to be in the library or in the cafeteria. I would think probably the cafeteria because that's where they had it last time when we had a few meetings at the school. But and then we hope that will be live.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Actually, someone else is saying you can just use a shared Google Calendar.
Right.
Yeah. And no idea how it's funded, if it's free, if it's anything else. And hopefully these are questions if the select board is watching. Anybody from the select board could answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have at the next meeting so that people understand exactly how it's going to work and why and what it costs us.
I mean, I think and I speak for myself when I say a couple of buffoons can set up a couple of laptops here and go live and video and get it all set. If we had those 28 laptops in different positions, we could have a pretty good meeting, right? I mean, you could have a meeting, maybe, and so you could have that laptop be available for whatever room you wanted to, because there are guest Wi-Fi's, at the school, and it would be easy.
Yep.
Maybe they can call us. We'll set it up. We'll help set them up. We got this down now. I'll see.
Doyle and McCarthy IT. We just need global access.
We just need just temporary global. You laugh, but when that forensic things come back, no. I mean, but quite honestly, that's going to be a whole lot of nothing. And I'll explain why it's going to be a whole lot of nothing just in a couple of sentences. So when we were on, the IT development and the status of this town was behind. It was just behind. We had to get fiber. We had to get. We had servers that were outdated. We had security issues. We had no firewalls
in the basement of the town hall.
The town hall, which was
housing more mice than.
Yeah, it was just dangerous, and so a lot of work went into doing it. Well, the reality is, when we were trying to get to the point where getting emails instead of everybody using their own emails, which is not good, and a couple of the members. I'm thinking a couple of the members that are sitting now did for a while use personal emails, and we did too. But we dedicated. Like I dedicated one. All I used it for was Broomfield, and so. But then that seemed like a dumb idea. But it cost money to have emails for everybody, and so we did it piecemeal, little at a time. And so Mr. Doyle had to generate the Microsoft emails, and you had to pay for them. Well, you need to have a credit card on file. That's just one of the rules. And we don't really have a town credit card that you could put on file. So he put his own. Well, then his name was on the credit card that had to be the administrator. And so de facto, he became the administrator. And he just said, well, put my name on it. We need this to work. And then it worked. And that was it. Then he handed it over to IT, and everything was... was fine until he tried to get his card off, and they wouldn't let him get his card off because there was no other card to take over. And not that they wouldn't let him, he didn't really want to take it off and just pull the rug out from under the town, because that wouldn't have been good either. Everything would have been lost. So this forensics thing is just ridiculous.
And there were also but there's a big question with emails. And somebody had to go through and look at, there are 50 different emails, and there's building, inspector, building commissioner, who knows, and there are all sorts of different things, and nobody really had the time or to look through them, to figure out what to do with them and how to clean them up.
Right.
And I did a lot of that.
Right.
And with the duplicates, you can make aliases, so I cleaned all that stuff up, got freed up some emails that were then able to be used for other purposes. There was one time when somebody came up at a meeting actually and said, I don't want to use my own email. Mm-hmm. It was the veterans agent.
Right, I remember that.
And so I just said, okay, what do you want your email to be? And I went in and made him an email.
Right
said,
away.
Here's your temporary password. Change it when you're
right. And that's the other thing too. That the passwords that were on the emails, they were the individual's password. And so, if somebody at an administrative level wanted to get into their email, you would have to go in and change the password to get to it because it was somebody else, and then they would know that somebody went into the email, and it didn't happen. And so. again, it's probably thorough. It's going to be talking about. It'd be interesting to see what the cost is going to be because. It'll be interesting to see what the bill would be to do it because that's what the next step was. They weren't going to do it. They were going to find out what the cost was going to be, which I thought they would have by now because it's been 3 weeks before when they first brought it up. So that will be interesting to see what it costs the town to look for that. And maybe it is, it's probably the best practice kind of thing, but it's ludicrous in light of things, to be honest.
The issue is there are best practices, IT best practices, which should be followed and usually are. When you've got a town like Brimfield with a budget like Brimfield, best practices can't always happen.
Right. Oh yeah. When I was on the board, there wasn't a best practice from an IT standpoint at all.
Right.
We had no server passwords. I mean, we had no server protection. It was the firewall was outdated, had no patches on it. It was not good.
Yeah, and that's IT. But same thing happens with, we should have a custodian only, taking trash out to the curb. Well, that doesn't happen.
Right.
We have administrative assistants. Taking trash out.
Right.
We shouldn't have, the police chief shoveling sidewalks.
Right.
But
it happens.
Sad reality is he has to.
Right.
We got, everybody in this town who works, either, us on boards, on, employees, you name it. Everybody goes above and beyond to help save this town money.
Right.
And that's all this was.
Right. Yep. Anyhow, so that's what it's about. So people understand what it's about. It'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the money that we saved in doing this is going to be spent on the audit.
On doing it. On the audit. Yeah. All right. What else we got?
So, somebody did mention, and I do think I do want to just comment how we skipped over how rude the vice chair was to the building committee co-chair. And it was, I don't even want to show the scene because...
No, I'm not going to.
It was just a nasty scene, and it was very unfortunate.
Right.
But what I will say is, thank you to the co-chair for saying it. It's something that a lot of us have thought, and she's very rude, very dismissive.
That was...
I believe... And it's just sad. Right. They sit in a position of power and they're, somebody had the floor and he was talking and, just very dismissive.
They were talking, the chair and vice chair were talking to each other and he was in the middle of saying something. And it wasn't just, if you watch the video, it wasn't just him. It was, there were a few times when, they were trying to either change who was going to be talking next during the chief, Hamden County Sheriff's thing. But that was definitely over the top. That was over the top. And Mr. Miller, depending on where you're from or what your point is, it doesn't really matter. I think you could look at, he certainly was emotionally driven to be on that building committee, and he just needed to voice his opinion and then to be talking over him when he was there, when he was trying to voice, especially when he was trying to do a counter discussion about some of the accusations and the suggestions of things and that he said were just grossly wrong, namely that there was no communication from the building committee back to the select board when he literally sent emails every week, but nobody said that. Nobody apologized. Oh, I'm sorry for that. That was like, oh well, I got one or whatever. They just threw it. Anyhow,
and he was speaking on behalf of the 11 dedicated, residents that we have, and residents, I'll say taxpayers, because no, Chief Kuss doesn't live in town. He is a taxpayer in town.
There you go.
And he, they all, especially the department heads. These guys work all day long.
Right.
They work for the town. It's a paycheck, but they came back and they made sure that this public safety, and I guess that's the other thing that I just really want to talk about. I'm going to start pounding that.
All right. We only got a couple minutes left.
Yep.
We're going to lose everybody.
The audacity, and it may have just been bad coincidence, But
It was
either way, it's the audacity to have both the sheriff's department come in and even though it's not going to happen, I don't think, and
Whatever.
even if there were,
Yep.
you know, even if the select board wanted it to, I don't think the townspeople would let it, and it would die there on the vine.
Right.
But to have the sheriff's department come into the police department and talk about, you know, absorbing the police department into the sheriff's department was very inappropriate.
Right.
That should not have happened in their home, you know?
Right.
At the same time, you know, having a discussion about disbanding the building committee who just completed the public safety complex
Right.
on time and under budget, you know, talk about disbanding them in the building that they just completed
Yeah.
was another slap in the face that should never have happened.
Yep.
You know, postpone that discussion until you're out of their home,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
their baby.
The irony was definitely not lost, for sure. No, it was, yeah. I think that was kind of a slap in the face, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. So
right.
with that,
Anything else? What do you got?
so now just
Uh-oh.
no, this is good news. Let's see, I'm trying to get there now. I can't work very fast, but let's see.
All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to do this because...
Is that the Thanksgiving one?
Yep.
Nope, can't do that one.
Can't do that one?
Nope.
Nope. I'm not going to do that one?
So the Thanksgiving dinner
Yeah.
at the senior center is booked beyond booking.
Oh. All right, so I can't put that up.
No.
They can't take any more. No more keepers. How
No,
about,
not
how
even
about-
anymore on the waiting list.
Oh, really? How about...
Oh, that one for sure, yes.
Yeah. All right, let me put up the Wreaths Across America day, again, December 17th, 2022. The cemetery ceremony will begin 11:30 a.m. The wreaths will be placed on the veterans' graves at 12 p.m. And then there's a contact number on the screen right there.
So, and what was it, November 20th? Is that on there?
November 20th. Oh, yeah, check cash sponsorships are due by November 20th.
Yes.
So, got a little bit of time.
Yep.
All right.
But it is important if anybody wants to, you know, they are looking for more sponsorships. I haven't talked to them recently, but
Okay.
last time I talked to Amanda, there were like 50 graves still without a sponsor.
Okay.
So if you could spend $15 per grave, you know, anything will help.
All right, excellent. And then I think I'll put this up there anyways, just to make sure that Eva doesn't get mad at me. There is a the Medicare sign up. I'm assuming it's still this time of year, the insurance sign ups. Although I bet it's getting close to closing at this point as well. I've got contact information up there now. We've got the Brimfield Matters at gmail.com. We got Facebook. We're at Brimfield Matters. YouTube, Brimfield Matters. And don't forget, when you're watching this, subscribe because it helps us out. And
Okay.
all right.
The last things that I got.
Okay, what do you got?
So I got some updates. The election results, if anybody is interested in the state elections.
It's just in.
This just in. I'm not going to say the results. They are up on the town clerk page.
Oh, all right.
So to see how our town voted,
oh, okay.
you can see the results.
Nice.
I was sad because, well, I won't even say that. But
Yeah. Don't,
it wasn't
I'm not
anything
going there.
about any of the, yeah. So anyway, and then I've also got positive news just in this afternoon. The Historical Commission and the town clerk applied for a roving archive program grant, where a roving archivist will come in and help a town set up and you know do an archive, you know, set up an archive.
nice.
Talk about the best practices on how to archive historic material and all that. They won. They were approved to get this. It probably won't be able to start working until the spring.
Cool.
But at that point, Brimfield will have some professional guidance as to how to go about preserving and saving what we have.
Wow.
So congratulations to the Historical Commission and the town clerk for that.
Nice job. I just want to say next episode will be I think it's November 16th. I should probably check the date because I don't remember writing this. It's been a while. So let me just make sure. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 16th. That's right. All right. Excellent. So it'll be November 16th. That'll be our 13th episode. That's crazy. But it is that. And I think that is...
that should be it.
That should be it. So with that, I'll just tell everybody... let me see here.
Dismiss children.
Okay.
And with that,
We'll see you
have a
later.
good night.
We'll see you later. Bye now.
Bye.